The new Salvo War. The new Salvo War, a game-changer in aerial warfare. Download the brief 1200 KB https://CSIS website prod.s3 amazonos.com/s3fs public/202507-25073 Jensen Salvo War.pdf version id UDMFNZU GIVFAFXK HWX EBWESP The core issue. Russia has significantly escalated its use of large-scale, mixed drone and missile attacks, a tactic that has become alarmingly routine. The average size of these assault waves has surged from approximately 100 munitions in 2022 to nearly 300 by 2025. Additionally, the time intervals between these major strikes have dramatically decreased, now occurring as frequently as every 2 days, instead of the previous monthly cadence. This strategy heavily relies on swarms of Shahed drones, which are designed to overwhelm Ukraine's air defense systems, taking advantage of Russia's growing capacity to produce low-cost drones. These salvos are not just about sheer numbers. They represent a calculated strategy of attrition, aiming for victory through relentless pressure, psychological warfare, and sheer volume. In response, Ukraine must develop a multi-layered, cost-effective defense strategy. This includes rapidly deploying high-energy laser systems and high-powered microwaves (HPMs), enhancing cross-domain early warning networks, diversifying its arsenal of low-cost interceptors, and integrating civil and military tracking systems to analyze and respond to these salvos in real time. Introduction. On the night of July 9, 2025, Russia executed the most extensive combined drone and missile assault of the ongoing conflict with Ukraine, launching an astonishing 728 Kamikaze drones and 13 missiles, primarily targeting Kyiv. This unprecedented scale was not a one-off event. In the days that followed, 2 additional salvos struck Ukraine, with 416 and 625 munitions respectively, each surpassing the daily averages recorded in previous months. These attacks signify more than just an increase in Russian military activity. They mark a strategic shift in operational tempo, sending a clear message to Ukraine and its allies. Russia is ready to escalate its efforts to exhaust and overwhelm Ukraine. These massed salvo attacks are integral to Russia's evolving strategy of coercive punishment. By mid-2025, the intervals between these salvos have shrunk to a mere 8 days. In the last 2 months alone, the shortest gap between major strikes has been reduced to just 2 days. What was once an exceptional occurrence has now become a standard tactic. Large-scale salvo attacks now account for approximately 10% of all Russian aerial operations. Since September 2022, the CSIS Futures Lab has documented 157 of these coordinated waves, combinations of missiles, drones, and ballistic projectiles, strategically sequenced to test and strain Ukrainian defenses. Initially, these salvos averaged around 100 weapons per wave, but by 2025, that figure has tripled to nearly 300, reflecting not only increased production, but also a more aggressive aerial campaign. The frequency of these attacks has also accelerated. In 2022, major strikes occurred roughly once a month, but by mid-2025, the time between salvos has decreased to just 8 days. What were once peak events have now become the norm in a campaign characterized by sustained pressure and operational tempo. The pace continues to escalate. In the past 2 months, the shortest interval between major salvos has dropped to just 2 days. What were once rare spikes in intensity have now become standard features of Russia's aerial strategy. Each wave of attacks increases the strain on Ukraine's air defenses, which are already under pressure from months of attritional combat, forcing difficult decisions about what to protect. This pattern reveals more than just tactical adaptation. It indicates a fundamental shift in operational logic, moving from sporadic devastation to sustained saturation. This strategy is designed to erode, overwhelm, and exhaust, and it is a central aspect of the current phase of the conflict. This brief will first explore the evolving rationale behind Russia's missile and drone salvos, illustrating how changes in their composition and frequency are intended to challenge Ukraine's air defense systems. It will then discuss the operational and psychological impacts of this strategy, particularly the emergence of Shahed drone swarms as a key tool in attritional warfare. Finally, it will propose a series of policy responses for Ukraine and its allies, including 1. Accelerating the deployment of directed energy weapons like lasers and HPMs. 2. Expanding early warning sensor networks across various domains. 3. Diversifying the interceptor mix to include low-cost, rapid response systems. And 4. Integrating civil and military tracking capabilities to decode Russian salvo patterns in real time. Collectively, these measures can help Ukraine mitigate the effectiveness of Russia's evolving aerial campaign and restore a strategic balance in the skies. Understanding the logic behind Russia's salvos. An analysis of the composition of these salvos reveals a distinct operational logic. It's not merely about the number of munitions, it's also about the variety of threats involved. By incorporating a greater mix of high-end cruise missiles alongside drones and ballistic threats, Russia increases the strain on Ukraine's layered defenses. Instead of launching weapons in separate categories, drones in one wave and cruise missiles in another, Moscow blends them together. This mixed approach stretches Ukraine's defenses, compelling commanders to allocate limited interceptors across multiple types of threats simultaneously. The outcome is saturation. The more simultaneous angles of attack, the higher the likelihood that some munitions will breach the defenses. Moreover, Russia's large-scale strikes increasingly rely on long-range cruise missiles, specifically the Kh-101 and Kh-555, as well as ballistic missiles like the Iskander. These systems are prominent in high-intensity salvos, while lower-intensity days tend to depend more on unmanned combat aerial vehicles. This choice is strategic. Cruise missiles provide range, stealth, and the psychological impact of a deep strike. Russian military planners appear to be deliberately selecting these weapons to penetrate Ukraine's increasingly sophisticated air defenses and to create uncertainty about where the next attack will occur. Over time, this constant pressure does not merely deplete munitions. It also undermines morale. This is the essence of Russia's salvo strategy. Rather than overwhelming strength at a single point, it focuses on cumulative pressure across multiple fronts, designed to wear down defenses through volume, variety, and repetition. In summary, the unique logic of Russia's salvo launches lies in their carefully calibrated combination of quality and quantity, an approach aimed at eroding air defenses through multi-vector pressure. The role of kamikaze drones in Russia's strategy. Since September 2024, Russia's aerial campaign has transitioned into a new phase, one characterized not by cruise missiles or ballistic strikes, but by swarms of Garan-2, Shahed kamikaze drones. Where earlier salvos combined missiles and unmanned systems, the current pattern is predominantly drone-centric. Monthly launches of Shahed drones now routinely exceed 5,000, with weekly averages surpassing 1,000. For instance, on the night of July 2, 2025, Russia launched 750 drones in a single wave. This represents a significant shift in both strategy and payload. Drones are inexpensive, plentiful, and effective at compelling Ukraine to defend multiple locations, risking the depletion of its limited supply of costly interceptors. Compared to the mixed salvos that characterized earlier phases of the conflict, today's drone-dominant strikes blur the line between routine operations and mass assaults. Even on low-intensity days, the attacks resemble full-scale offensives. One-way attack drone warfare has become the cornerstone of Russia's pressure strategy, relentless, low-cost, and integral to a broader campaign of attrition. Russia has also begun deploying upgraded Shahed variants at higher altitudes, taking advantage of radar blind spots and testing the limits of short-range air defense systems. In fact, the effectiveness of Shahed drone launches is improving. Earlier in the conflict, hit rates were below 10%. Now they have nearly doubled to 20%. This increase does not indicate a collapse of Ukraine's air defenses, but rather reflects Russian adaptation. New swarming tactics, such as overlapping flight paths and staggered timing, force defenders to split their focus and exhaust their interceptors more quickly. Simultaneously, Russia has started flying upgraded Shahed variants at higher altitudes, exploiting radar gaps and pushing the limits of short-range air defense systems. The result is compounded pressure. As the waves of drones grow in size and frequency, Ukraine's defenses become saturated more rapidly, and stocks of interceptors dwindle. More drones manage to penetrate the defenses, not because Ukraine is incapable of defending itself, but because it is being challenged by an adversary that is learning in real time how to overwhelm its protective measures. Implications for Ukraine. The normalization of large-scale salvo launches, primarily driven by one-way attack drones, reflects a deeper strategic logic in Russia's conduct of war. Often, Russia's strategic advantage lies in its ability to absorb losses while maintaining military momentum. Historically, Russia has engaged in prolonged conflicts that are not bound by strict timelines and are resilient to attrition. In each case, Moscow has relied on its capacity to outlast adversaries through sustained production and relentless pressure. Currently, by concentrating low-cost drones against Ukraine's air defenses, Russia aims to impose not only physical attrition but also psychological strain on Ukrainian society, thereby increasing domestic pressure on Kyiv's government to concede. This represents a logic of punishment and a different theory of victory than simply winning decisive battles along a static front line. To keep pace, Ukraine must respond with innovation and persistence. One potential avenue is the rapid deployment of low-cost, high-energy laser systems, capable of intercepting drone swarms before they can overwhelm conventional defenses. Unlike traditional missiles, directed energy weapons do not rely on expendable munitions. They can engage multiple targets quickly and repeatedly. Early battlefield tests conducted by Ukraine and the United Kingdom suggest that these systems can disable drones from several kilometers away. If integrated into Ukraine's air defense framework, lasers could complicate Russia's calculations, forcing a shift toward more expensive munitions or prompting investment in counter-laser technologies. In either scenario, they help restore cost parity in a conflict increasingly defined by asymmetric attrition. This initiative to incorporate laser systems can also include the use of high-powered microwaves, HPMs. HPMs can target a broader range of threats, including swarming drones. Both the United Kingdom and the United States have conducted tests on HPMs, with the U.S. exploring their applications for both ground and naval operations. The U.S. Army has integrated these systems into its future air defense concepts during major exercises in the Philippines. These systems should be field-tested in Ukraine. Beyond lasers, Ukraine and its international allies must pursue a comprehensive defense architecture. First, cross-domain early warning sensors integrating ground radars, manned and unmanned aerial platforms, and satellite data are essential for detecting and distinguishing simultaneous threats, from cruise missiles to drone swarms. This network could also incorporate low-cost balloons to extend detection range. The United States, through NATO security assistance and training for Ukraine, should seek ways to expedite intelligence sharing and early warning concepts to bolster Ukraine's defenses. Second, a diversified interceptor portfolio should combine rapid response, low-cost point defense systems, such as radar-guided, rapid-fire guns and short-range missiles, against drones, while retaining stocks of high-end surface-to-air missiles for cruise and ballistic threats. Ukraine has already begun deploying systems like the Sky Sentinel, an AI-powered autonomous turret capable of detecting, locking onto, and neutralizing drones without human intervention. Funded in part through the United 24 initiative, Sky Sentinel offers a scalable and cost-effective alternative to missile-based interception. Concurrently, Ukrainian units are enhancing their dedicated air defense and drone interception capabilities, forming specialized groups to counter the growing threat posed by Shahed-type drones. These domestic innovations are being supported by increasing international partnerships. In 2025, Ukraine signed a deal with SwiftBeat, a U.S. company led by former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, to co-produce hundreds of thousands of drones, including interceptors, marking a significant step in public-private defense collaboration. European industry is also getting involved. Denmark's Terma, in partnership with Ukrainian drone manufacturer Odd Systems, is developing AI-powered drone interceptors, showcasing the potential of allied contributions to Ukraine's layered defense. Together, these initiatives highlight the importance of combining grassroots domestic innovation with direct foreign investment in enhancing Ukraine's defense manufacturing and operational capabilities. Third, achieving air superiority will require more than just interceptors. It will necessitate a fusion of technology, transparency, and analysis that leverages civil society, open-source intelligence, and classified assessments working together to track and decode Russia's evolving operational strategies in this new missile age. Transparent, real-time tracking and attribution platforms are crucial. By documenting each salvo, its size, composition, and timing, Ukraine can refine its operational planning and synchronize requests for international assistance, ensuring that interceptor shipments align with the actual threat landscape. Equally important, this visibility aids in shaping strategic communications, countering Russian disinformation, and reinforcing public confidence in Ukraine's ability to defend itself. Ultimately, defense is not solely about intercepting drones or missiles. Equally vital is contesting the narrative. By integrating directed energy systems, layered sensors, diverse interceptors, resilient infrastructure, and real-time tracking, Ukraine can transform Russia's salvo strategy from an overwhelming force into a manageable, contested engagement, and in doing so, reclaim the strategic initiative in the skies. For further details, please refer to the appendix in the PDF. Benjamin Jensen serves as the director of the Futures Lab and is a senior fellow in the Defense and Security Department at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, in Washington, D.C. Yasser Atalan is a data fellow in the Futures Lab at CSIS. Eric Tiersten Nyman is an intern with the CSIS Futures Lab. This report is made possible through general support to CSIS. No specific sponsorship contributed to this report. CSIS briefs are produced by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, a private, tax-exempt institution focused on international public policy issues. Its research is nonpartisan and non-proprietary. CSIS does not endorse specific policy positions. Therefore, all views, positions, and conclusions expressed in this publication should be understood as solely those of the authors. Copyright 2025 by the Center for Strategic and International Studies. All rights reserved. Drones in Ukraine's war. Expert insights, political shifts. In the ever-evolving landscape of modern warfare, the front lines in Ukraine are undergoing significant changes, and the use of drones is playing a crucial role in shaping the outcome. This is where the story gets particularly fascinating. Michael Kofman, fresh from his recent field research in Ukraine, sat down with Ryan to discuss the intricate details of these shifts. They delved into how drones are not just tools of surveillance, but are becoming integral to Ukraine's defensive strategies, enhancing their ability to respond to threats in real time. But here's where it gets controversial. The conversation also tackled the internal political challenges facing Ukraine, such as the heated debates over reforms aimed at anti-corruption agencies. These reforms have sparked intense public debate. The discussion then turned to the evolving support from Western nations, which has been a lifeline for Ukraine. However, the effectiveness of this aid is often overshadowed by the complexities of international politics. For instance, President Trump's growing frustration with Putin adds another layer of uncertainty. How will this tension influence the ongoing conflict? What does it mean for the future of Ukraine? Kofman and Ryan also provided a detailed analysis of Senator Graham's proposed Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025. This act, which aims to impose new sanctions on Russia, has been met with mixed reactions. Some see it as a strong stance against Russian aggression, while others argue that it might escalate tensions further. What do you think? Should the U.S. take a harder line on Russia? Or is there a risk of pushing the conflict to new heights? For those who want to dive deeper into these issues, Kofman explores them further in his show, The Russia Contingency. Becoming a member at warontherocks.com/membership will give you access to exclusive insights and discussions. Don't miss out on the opportunity to stay informed and engaged in one of the most critical conflicts of our time. Russia's jet-powered Shahed Kamikaze drone threatens Ukraine's defense. Imagine a scenario where even the most advanced air defense systems struggle to keep up with an evolving threat from the skies. That's exactly the challenge Ukraine faces today as Russia ramps up its use of jet-powered Shahed Kamikaze drones, a development that has sent shockwaves through military analysts and frontline defenders alike. These high-speed, hard-to-intercept weapons are rapidly becoming a major concern in the ongoing conflict, posing questions about how Ukraine can adapt its defenses to counter them effectively. In a recent overnight attack on Kyiv and other cities, Russian forces deployed a deadly mix of weapons, including the jet-powered variant of the Shahed drone. According to Ukrainian officials, this particular type of drone is proving to be far more difficult to track and neutralize compared to its propeller-driven predecessors. Why? Because these jet-powered versions fly faster and at higher altitudes, making it nearly impossible for many existing air defense systems to engage them efficiently. As a result, Ukraine is being forced to rely on expensive surface-to-air missiles, SAMs, each costing millions of dollars, to take down threats that might only cost a fraction of that amount to produce. This economic imbalance is something we've been warning about for over a year, and now it's playing out in real time. Among the hundreds of drones launched during the attack were 8 jet-powered Shaheds, according to Yuri Ignat, a spokesperson for the Ukrainian Air Force. Though they made up just a small portion of the overall assault, their ability to evade detection and interception highlights a growing vulnerability in Ukraine's defensive capabilities. On radar, these drones appear similar to cruise missiles due to their speed, which can exceed 500 kilometers per hour, 310 miles per hour, Ignat explained. Not all of our current systems are capable of handling such fast-moving targets. But here's where it gets controversial. What happens when traditional air defenses simply can't keep pace? Reports suggest that these turbojet-powered drones can outrun interceptor drones and overwhelm mobile anti-aircraft gun crews attempting to track and destroy them mid-flight. For instance, one expert noted that the diving speed of certain models reaches 700 kilometers per hour, 435 miles per hour, presenting a daunting challenge for any system relying on manual targeting or slower-moving interceptors. The jet-powered variant of the Shahed drone, likely based on Iran's Shahed 238 model, unveiled last November, is believed to have a range of 620 to 1,240 miles, and can ascend to nearly 6 miles above the ground. With a warhead weighing around 50 kilograms, 110 pounds, and a top speed of approximately 600 kilometers per hour, 370 miles per hour, these drones represent a significant leap forward in terms of performance compared to the older Shahed 136. To put this into perspective, the Shahed 136 cruises at a relatively leisurely 180 kilometers per hour, 111 miles per hour, comparable to a small private aircraft. This stark difference in capabilities has led some observers to label the Shahed 238 as virtually untouchable by conventional means. Whether it's mobile fire teams armed with small arms or electric-powered interceptor drones, few existing solutions seem capable of reliably stopping these new threats. And this is the part most people miss. Even more sophisticated air defense networks may find themselves overwhelmed if these drones are deployed en masse alongside other types of munitions, such as cruise and ballistic missiles. Adding fuel to the fire, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky recently called for the daily production of 1,000 interceptor drones to bolster the country's defenses. However, Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's first deputy prime minister and minister of digital transformation, cautioned that these efforts might not suffice against the jet-powered variants, Speaking on national television earlier this week, Fedorov emphasized the need for constant innovation and adaptation. Russia is actively working to integrate technologies that allow their drones to bypass interceptors, he said. We must respond with equally dynamic strategies. So what does the future hold? While Ukraine scrambles to develop effective countermeasures, several obstacles stand in the way. Chief among these are the relentless Russian strikes on production facilities and supply chain disruptions, both of which hinder efforts to scale up manufacturing. Moreover, there's lingering uncertainty about whether Russia can sustain large-scale production of these advanced drones. Unlike the simpler Shahed 136, the jet-powered versions require stronger materials, more precise engineering, and complex turbojet engines, all factors that increase costs and complicate mass production. And then there's the broader geopolitical context. Could China's support for Russia play a role in supplying critical components for these engines? If so, how might international sanctions evolve to address this? These are just a few of the pressing questions policymakers and military strategists must grapple with moving forward. Ultimately, the emergence of jet-powered Shahed drones underscores a harsh reality. The battlefield is constantly shifting, and staying ahead of the curve requires creativity, resilience, and collaboration. But will Ukraine's ingenuity be enough to overcome this latest threat? Or will Russia succeed in exploiting this technological edge to further destabilize the region? Share your thoughts below. Are you optimistic about Ukraine's chances? Or do you think the odds are stacked too heavily against them?